Thank you. Hello. You got about 2 minutes according to my computer here. We'll be starting our meeting. Okay, 10 o'clock, we'll start the August general government meeting, calling it to order. First up, I need a motion to support to approve our agenda. We have Corey, motion, Earl, support. Approved, all in favor indicate by saying aye. Can't see everybody. Okay, motion approved. Michelle, do we have public comment?
Negative, no public comment.
Okay, it's gonna be a quick meeting. We'll move on to item 4, our committee items. We have the minutes from July 13th. Unless there are any changes or additions, deletions, we need to approve our minutes. Do I have a motion and support? Motion by Rodney, support by Corey. Thank you, guys. All in favor indicate by saying aye. Okay, thank you, Danielle. Motion approved. We'll go on to item 4B, our appointments. Last I knew we had none that it's been spoken for. Oh, we do. Yes, we do. Okay. For appointments, we have the Board of Canvassers. Republican representative. The term expires 10/21. We had Nicholas Finn, and he resigned. The applicant for that position is Sharon Hastings. Do we have any additions from the floor? Any additions from the floor? Do I hear a motion to support Sharon Hastings? Supported by Mr. Plesky. May I support? Supported by Corey Kennedy. All in favor indicate by saying aye. Motion approved. Sharon Hastings will be it. Second nomination for appointment is for the Democratic Party representative alternate person. The term expires 10/2023. An applicant that has applied, and it's the only applicant we have, is Linda Marks. Do we have anybody, nominations coming from the floor? If not, do we have a motion support for Linda Marks? We have Daniel and Mr. Plesky. Thank you, Earl. All in favor of Linda Marks for the Democratic Party representative, indicate by saying aye. Motion approved. Linda Marks will be the candidate, or she'll go to the full board. Okay, next up we have our we load it enterprise group report. Somebody out there for the enterprise group?
I'm here, and Debbie's here. Tim Rogers and Debbie Kelly both.
Welcome
Hey,
both.
everyone.
Hello. Okay, the floor's yours.
Okay, thank you, Chairman. We supplied the report on July 29th. I'm not going to go through all the details, but maybe add a couple of highlights. We have started the process of reviewing the second round of MEDC grant funds. The applications were closed on the 5th of August. And right now we have 383 applications for the $1.2 million. 30% of that will go to minority, women, and veteran-owned businesses. So we have to have all of the money allocated by the end of August. So we have a review team that started on those late last week. We have some people from outside the EG that are helping us, as well as staff here. The MEDC had a similar program back in the summer. Commissioner Mahoney helped us do that process. And originally, the MEDC was not going to allow businesses that got some of that 142,000 to apply for this 1.2 million. And a lot of us at the local level provided some pushback because a lot of the companies, we tried to spread that money out. And so we had grants of $500 or $1,000. And this time the maximum was $20,000. And we felt that was very unfair to people that applied and were awarded a small amount last time. So they are now included in that, and the difference between anything they were granted last time and the 20,000 they're eligible for. We will have way more need than we have money again, but it's still a sizable amount that we'll be able to give out. And I'm not quite sure yet about how those will be announced. MEDC hasn't told us once we send that list back in how they're going to make the announcements. But as soon as we know that, I'll let Administrator Overton know. So that's one of the highlights. I did want to thank JDOT. I know Christopher's on the call for all their help on the EDA grant for the industrial park. The review process has been a little slow given that a lot of the state agencies have furloughed staff. We don't think we've run into any negative comments. We've had to do historic preservation, farmland preservation, a lot of the standard reviews. The EDA themselves in Chicago has not thrown up any red flags. So we think we're still on track for getting that $6 million awarded. So we're feeling really good about that. I did want to let Debbie, do you have anything you want to add for any of the contract organizations, EDCs or the BLFDA, PLDFA, jump in or answer any questions that the commissioners might have?
I don't have anything to add in addition to the report that you all have in front of you this morning. But if anyone has any questions, I would be glad to try and answer those for you.
Any questions, committee? There is, just jump in. Guess we don't have any questions, Debbie.
Commissioner Mahoney?
Okay, I
Commissioner
can't see
Mahoney,
him.
would you-
Sorry, no questions. No questions. Really, thank you, Mr. Chair. I just really wanted to tell Tim and his staff of Heroes, thank you for the great work in spreading this money around fairly and equitably. I know that many of the business owners who were able to take advantage of that first round of monies that we were able to allocate truly benefited from that hand up. And I'm sure that the same will happen from this round, and wish there was more to go around.
Thanks, Commissioner. we're hoping that the way we're doing it this time is if we don't do 30% of this next round of MEDC money, we have to give all the money back. So we're starting with minority, women, and veteran-owned businesses first to make sure that we give at least 30% of those dollars to that group, so that we don't inhibit our ability to give out the rest of the money. So we're very cognizant of that. And in fact, we use the lists from Patty Poppy's Dreammaker Fund, the Consumers Minority Business Fund, and the previous MEDC fund. We did not have that information before, so we made sure to push all that out to those people again, hoping that they will apply. And I think by the 380 plus applications, we did get a lot of those repeat applications, which is a good thing, because that money needs to get out. So thank you, Commissioner.
Question, Tim. Are you there?
Yep, I'm here.
I question, I mean, it's your program, it comes out to about $4,000 an applicant. Is that really going to help a small business restart, or should we, I know you don't want to get in the business of picking winners and losers, but would it be more effective to get more to a little bit fewer?
Well, actually, there were people in the last couple of rounds, as the commissioner will share with you too, that did not get any money. There is a ranking type system, so we're not just dividing it up amongst all the applicants. So we do have a number of the one thing MEDC is really concerned about is what are the wage rates of the people that we're funding. There's a category of, I think, about a dozen different items that we have to go through and check the boxes, if you will. And $4,000 is pretty significant. When we did this in the last 3 programs that we did it, we had people that were asking for $500 or just $1,000 to pay a utility bill or to pay a rent payment. So a lot of people didn't even get $4,000 last time because we were trying to spread it around, and many people did not ask for the maximum. I was I won't say surprised, but the fact that business people that were asking for help didn't all ask for the maximum. In the Patty Poppy case, the maximum was 10,000. Very few people out of that Dreammaker fund got 10,000. In the first MEDC round, the maximum was 5,000, and very few people even asked for 5,000. And so, you know, I think it's a combination of what people really need and how far the money will go. I don't know where this one will end up, Mr. Chairman, because I haven't gone through them all yet. We just started this process, but my sense is that there'll be a lot of people that will be in that $3,000 or $4,000 range and not at that 20,000, because we'll try to make the money go as far as we can. And a lot of it's subjective, obviously. You know, we can't know everything. We don't look at tax returns, and but it is pretty extensive application process.
Mm-hmm. Well, I too wish there was more money to help these businesses get restarted. Any other questions, committee? Thank you, Tim. Thank you, Debbie.
Thank
Thank you all.
Okay, next up on our agenda, item 4D, be the treasurer delinquent tax application note for borrowing. Is Karen out there? Treasurer? Is the treasurer out there?
Sorry about that. I'm here now. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Okay, good morning, Mr. Chair and Commissioners. Thank you. So you have before you first time request for the 2021 delinquent tax note borrowing. And the resolution is quite lengthy, but I'm here to answer any questions with regard to this. Basically what this is a short-term borrowing to help with cash flow. And back in the day, before myself, my predecessor had done delinquent tax anticipation notes. So it is something that has happened in Jackson County's history, but we have been able to self-fund for many, many years. But we have some cash flow concerns, so we are putting forth this resolution to ask for the borrowing. And the intent is that when we go out for the borrowing, that as soon as we receive the incoming tax disbursements in September and October of 21, that we would turn around and pay that borrowing off. So there are many counties throughout the state of Michigan that finance this way. And I have been working with PFM, and we have bond counsel also on the line, Eric McLaughlin from Dickinson and Wright. So if there's any technical questions with regard to what the process is and what it will look like, Eric can help field those questions. But I'm here to provide information if I can.
Thank you, Karen. Commissioner Plesky.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is further to a message that I sent to the chair and to the administrator and treasurer. I just want to have it on the record that that bond counsel have reviewed the resolution and they believe it is in the proper form for our action today. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct.
I guess I'd like to hear the council say that, Madam Treasurer.
I think Eric's on. He just needs to unmute. Michelle, do you know if Eric is able to join us? I see him here, but he's not, he's muted still.
He is on. I've asked him to unmute and start his video.
Okay.
Yeah, he was on video a little
He
bit
was.
ago.
The wonderful world of technology.
Mr. Chair, my question is pro forma. I just want to make sure that bond counsel are on record saying that they've reviewed and they're prepared to, that it's ready for our action. That's all I'm looking for.
Commissioner Plesky, if we can't pull that up, would a letter on file work from him?
Do they have a letter on file, Madam Treasurer?
Not to my knowledge, other than this resolution that they worked through my office.
I'm prepared to wait for a council to act or to say so, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you, Earl. While he's trying to probably find his way through Zoom, Karen, are we preparing here to enter the new phase of the delinquent tax revolving fund by having to only recover to the penny of what we're owed? Is that why we're doing this?
It is strictly for cash flow purposes.
Okay,
Our history has been every March 1st, we take all of the delinquent taxes from all of the local units, the villages, the townships, the city, that remain uncollected at their local unit. And we effectively buy those delinquent taxes from them. And our history, it goes all the way back from the beginning of when we had the delinquent tax revolving fund in 2001. Our histories that we needed at least anywhere between $8 million to $12 million to do that, to buy all those taxes back every March 1st from all of the local units. So that's why we're asking for the 12 million. And again, this is just a cash financing tool. It's a short-term borrowing. I feel that in the need that we are in and the position that we are in today, not knowing what's going to happen in our future with COVID, that it's the smart, prudent, practical thing to do is to plan accordingly for this borrowing.
I believe
Okay,
Eric is unmuted now, just FYI.
can you hang on a minute, Daniel, or is this pre-Eric?
Well, I don't know if it'll be a quick question or not, Mr. Chair, but I'm just simply curious, Karen, what the downsides of using this tool are, if there are any downsides that you could tell us about.
The only downside that I am aware of is that this may have an impact on the county's bond rating. But because it's a borrowing and the intent is to do the borrowing, get the monies in, cover our costs and paying out all of the local units for the delinquent taxes, and then paying that back within less than a year. As long as we follow through and do that, which I can guarantee we will, then it should not have a negative impact on our bond rating. Again, I've not gone through this experience as treasurer. My previous predecessor has. But I know bond counsel works with other county treasurers that do this every year. And he may be able to answer that more thoroughly. Mr. Mahoney?
Are you good now, Daniel?
Thank you. Yep.
Thank you. Okay, we're ready for the council.
Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning. My name is Eric McLaughlin. I'm a member with Dickinson Wright, part of the Public Finance Practice Group. As Karen said, I do work with several counties on the issuance of delinquent tax notes each year. And I'm prepared to answer any questions you may have or give you an overview of what the resolution does. However you'd like me to proceed, I'm willing to do that.
Okay, Mr. Pulaski has some questions for you. Commissioner Pulaski, go ahead, Earl.
Yes, thank you, council. I'm just looking to have council let us know that they have reviewed the documents and that they are in proper form for our execution.
Yes, sir, I've done so. I drafted it and it is in proper form, ready for your execution should you adopt it.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner Pulaski. Commissioner Mahoney.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Eric, I'm sorry, committee, to belabor the point, but Eric, if you could give us a brief overview, that would probably help me at least gain some more insight on the subject.
Sure. So the resolution before you does a couple of primary things with respect to borrowing money for payment of the delinquent taxes. You can kind of divide it into two categories. The first category is it authorizes the issuance of the bonds, and the second category is that it delegates authority to Mrs. Kaufman to take all actions necessary to effectuate the sale and delivery of the notes. So the first category is authorizing the issuance of the short-term notes to fund the delinquent tax revolving fund. So there's authority granted by the Board of Commissioners to issue notes in an amount up to but not exceeding $12 million. I believe that Karen has explained how she came up with that number. That's based on the estimated delinquencies, what the delinquencies are estimated to be as of March 1st of 2021. It's estimated to be 12 million, which is consistent with some of the higher years of delinquencies that the county has had to deal with. The resolution authorizes notes to be issued up to that amount, but not over. It doesn't obligate the county to issue that much. If delinquencies come in short of 12 million, state law limits the borrowing to not to exceed the amount of delinquent real property taxes. So you're not required to issue as much as you're authorizing, and state law limits you to only that amount that you need to cover the delinquent taxes and the cost of issuance. So, like I said, it's just a ceiling. It's a parameter. It doesn't have to be. You don't have to borrow that full amount. And in a normal year, what normally happens is on March 1st, after taxes are returned to a county treasurer will go through a settlement process with the locals. It will determine how much is owed. There will be some time within which taxes are collected after March 1st, and those will be netted out against the amount that's ultimately borrowed. The second thing in the authorization process that the resolution does is that it establishes parameters within which the notes can be issued other than the principal amount. It also sets the sales price parameter. These notes would not be able to be sold for less than 98% of the principal amount, and whether they are or not sold at that discount is a function of the market at the time the notes are sold. It also establishes the authority for Karen to decide whether to proceed with fixed or variable rate notes, and it delegates to her the authority to determine the method for selling the notes, either by competitive sale, negotiated sale, or request for proposal process. The process ultimately chosen will be determined in conjunction in consultation with me and with the county's financial advisor, PFM. Once the notes are issued, they will be repaid with collections of taxes, real property taxes against which the borrowing has been issued. Once the notes are issued, the county is the agent, the collection agent for the local units. Taxes are collected and they're deposited in a collection account from which the notes are paid when due. Additional security for the notes would be the county's limited tax full faith and credit pledge, which is a pledge of real property taxes that the county collects, and that is only in the event that the collection of the delinquent taxes are not sufficient to pay the debt service when due, and that would be limited to the amount that the county has available to pay. Taxes cannot be raised to pay that, but again, the primary security will be the collections of delinquent real property taxes. The second category that I mentioned at the beginning was that the resolution authorizes the county treasurer to take certain actions with regard to selling the notes and delivering them to the purchaser. The treasurer will be able to determine the final details of the notes, the final principal amount, the rates, the redemption features, the method of sale. Delegates the authority to the county treasurer to execute the notes once they're sold and deliver them to the purchaser, to prepare an official statement if the bonds are sold on the public markets, a continuing disclosure undertaking if sold to the public markets, and as I said earlier, to do all other things necessary to effectuate the sale and delivery of the notes to the purchaser. And if there are any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Any questions for Mr. McLaughlin? Commissioner Kennedy.
Hello, this is very new to me, so if my questions are irritating, I apologize, but who are we borrowing from, and do we have a rough idea of what the interest rate is on the note? In essence, what the cost to us would be.
So taking your first, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Going by the high end saying that we did take off $12 million.
Okay, so your first question, who are you borrowing from? Depending on how the notes are sold, you will be, the proceeds from the sale of the notes will be coming from a purchaser of the notes. If you sell on the public markets through a competitive sale, likely that would be an investment bank, would be buying the notes with the purpose of reselling them to the capital markets, to the public markets. If you do a negotiated sale, you will, prior to the sale of the notes, hire an underwriter to buy the notes, and you'll enter into a note purchase contract, and then again the underwriter will buy the notes with the purpose of selling them to the public markets after they've bought them. The third method is a request for proposal, and that gets sent out to a large group of likely purchasers, which include banks, underwriters, large institutional purchasers perhaps, and they would, usually that's just for the purpose of selling to one purchaser who does not intend to distribute the notes to the public markets. In that last situation, there isn't any kind of disclosure document that's required, no official statement, no continuing disclosure undertaking. And the method of sale selected is really a function of the market at the time that you're proceeding to sale, and what the financial advisor deems as the best and most effective way to get the most advantageous rate and debt structure for the notes. Your question about the interest rates is a very complicated one. It's not one that can be answered right now. These notes are not typically sold, they wouldn't be sold prior to March 1st, and they'd only be sold after all of the local units had returned their delinquent taxes, and the county treasurer knows exactly what amount she will need to pay out to all the local units. At that time, the financial advisor can give a more detailed analysis of what more likely rates are to be, given the conditions that will exist in March of next year, March or April or May of next year when the notes are sold. I realize that's somewhat of an unsatisfying answer, but especially given this year with COVID-19, there's really no good way to estimate the interest rate for the notes so far in advance. And again, it'd be a function of whether the notes were sold as a variable rate or as a fixed rate, and what method of sale is chosen.
Okay, thank you. That's kind of what I thought, unfortunately. All right, thank you.
Commissioner Pulaski.
The question of the interest is a good one. And this is more, I think, a question for the treasurer and our administrator. Whatever interest we do ultimately pay will be charged against the delinquent tax fund, correct? Not as a general fund expense, correct?
That's
right?
correct. The principal amount of the notes and the interest borne by those notes will be paid out of the collections of delinquent property taxes.
Yeah, and I think for the usage of other commissioners, the fact that we are having to do some borrowing for cash flow is indicative of the fact that we have fewer resources in our delinquent tax fund than we have had in the past. I see nodding heads of Mr. Overton and Madam Kaufman. So thank you. That's all the questions I have, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Pulaski. Any further questions? Commissioner, Chair Shotwell.
Karen, is it not true that if there is any shortfall on this, again, the townships and villages and cities that the properties were taken from have to make the pothole? Is that correct? So eventually all we're doing is cash flow, not having to pay any direct expense out of the county.
So I think you're talking about two different things, Commissioner Shotwell. This is for purposes of settlement. I think what you're speaking of would be after the fact, when the county treasurer takes possession of the properties and then goes to put those up does the collection process for the 25 months, and then it goes up to public auction if we foreclose, and if there's a shortfall, that can result in a chargeback. So I think that's what you're referring to. So it really is two different things. Again, this is a new vehicle. This would be at the very front end of the processes that we deal with in my office. So this would be at settlement time, at the very, very beginning. I think what you're speaking of is later on in the cycles, if I'm not correct.
Correct. I'm at the end of the cycle, Karen, and
Okay.
at the end of the day, when the final zero out the spreadsheet, the townships and villages and cities have to make the county whole in this fund, so that way it zeroes out, correct?
That is absolutely correct.
So Corey, to your question, as we go through the process, while it may take us 25 months or more to get through it, at the end of the day, the townships have to pay any of that outstanding interest or any of the costs or anything like that. The county balances itself out at zero. It just has to be the fiduciary at this time of managing the loans and taking care of the property disposal and everything like that.
Is that all, Mr. Chair?
Yes, sir, I'm complete. Thank you.
Thank you. Madam Treasurer,
Yes.
does this still necessitate the double auction, the second auction for the stuff that did not sell the first time?
So statute hasn't changed with regard to that. So we have to have the minimum bid, which is our first auction. And what we have been doing is bundling the remaining properties for the second auction. I am not prepared to report out what's going to happen this year because of other variables that we're dealing with as county treasurers. But our first auction is going to be online, and we'll see if anything remains afterwards. And then after that auction, we'll make a determination as to what we're going to do with that second auction.
Okay, thank you very much. Any further questions, committee? Is that a question, Daniel?
No, not a question, just a comment. Just was actually going to say thanks for asking that question, because that's what my exact question was, is does this or the changes in the delinquent tax fund, is that going to change the way we do our auctions? That was the exact question that I had. So I will be looking forward, Ms. Karen, to how we decide to handle that as a community here. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, any further questions? If not, I need a motion and support to send this to the full board. Have a motion by Corey Kennedy, support by Earl Pulaski. All in favor indicate with your thumbs. Thumbs up. And I see 4. Rodney, you there, Rodney? Okay, passes 4-0. Thank you, Karen.
Thank
Any
you, Commissioners.
Any further action here? We're all set then? Everything you need?
I think so. I hope so. Thank you.
Thank you much.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We'll move on to our finance report, 4E.
Good morning.
Good morning, Cecilia.
Morning. So the financial statements before you are June 2020 financial statements. So we're kind of reaching the halfway mark for the year. And as you can see on page 1, we are below the 50%. So we're at 49.4%. That's what we expect for furloughs and the savings that we have at that. So that looks good. And then on the next couple of pages, pages 2 and 3, it does break down the departments and the general fund, where they're at in the budget. And as you can see, all of the majority of them are all below the 50% mark. The only one really has to do with our general, and they didn't have furloughs, so that would be expected. So on the next, the next page on page 4 is the breakdown of our revenues. And I do continue to have notes as to the different departments we've been watching with, because of the shutdown and the revenues where they are below their budget. Good news is because we've been able to open up, they've been able to stay steady. So they haven't, so that, which is a very positive thing. So, so I invite any questions anyone has regarding the financial statement.
Questions, committee? I have one.
Yes.
When I look at this, almost all money spent is below the 50% mark. Therefore, how could we have such a big hole in our budget?
Well, again, the reason why that is because we've made some progress with our furloughs, but also the revenues, until we've started with our revenues are still, shortfall was still higher than the savings we were having in the expenditures, because we're about $100,000 savings with the furloughs. But as you can see, our revenues are still higher. So that's why we asked for the work share for July and August. So.
Okay. Any questions, committee? We don't have any questions. I thank you, Cecilia, for your report. And we'll go on to the next item, which is budget adjustment.
Yeah. So I just was taking a look at our budget amendments that needed to be done. I was able to identify some revenue, which you'll see. But then the next page, you'll see different departments of the workers' compensation. We're still funded. So we had an employee last year who went out on workers' comp. I was hoping by now that our workers' comp percentage or payout would have been less, but it's not. So I've gone ahead and just done the budget amendment just to get those line items back in line, because our revenues are fine. We've been charging the departments like we needed to in order to cover the costs. It's just I need to do a budget amendment. So that just cleans that up, makes it a little bit easier to look at. So was there any other questions on the budget amendments? Any particular ones? Bill, I can't hear you.
Muted myself so I didn't bother you. Any questions out there, committee? Pretty straightforward, Cecilia. Need a motion and support to do the adjustment. Motion by Commissioner Plesky, support by Commissioner Mahoney. All in favor indicate by saying aye. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you, Cecilia. Okay, next up, we have item G, Administrator Controller, our co-pro and personal protection equipment contracts. Is that you, Deborah?
Yes, good morning.
Good morning.
This is a continuation from last month. If you recall, last month we had, I believe it was 6 contracts for PPE. This is a continuation. We thought that there was going to be some more coming in, and they did. So this is just similar to last month, just a continuation. I haven't been advised if these are the last ones that are coming for us, but it's just 3 more contracts, same as everything from last month.
Questions, committee? We don't have any questions. I need a motion and support. Commissioner Waltz, is that a motion? Okay, need a support. Commissioner Pulaski, thank you. All in favor indicate by saying aye. Passes unanimously. Thank you, committee. Thank you, Debbie.
You're
Next
welcome.
up,
Thank you.
we're moving to item 5, paying the claims. Make sure y'all step up and pay the claims. I have a motion by Rodney Waltz, support by Corey Kennedy. All in favor indicate by saying aye. Passes unanimous. Make sure you step up and sign those. And let's see. Other minutes, September reporting schedule. The only thing we have scheduled next month is finance so far. Michelle, do we have any public comment? for the second
No
round?
public comment.
No committee member comments? No committee member comments? Okay, meeting adjourned. We'll see y'all at 1 o'clock.
That was easy.
Yeah, thank you.